When you opened your eyes this morning, what was the first thing you saw? That would be different for each one of us, and it's not for me to know exactly what you saw. All I know is what I saw when I opened my eyes. I saw the window, the blinds were closed, but I could tell the light was coming through and it was daylight. How many times, though, have we opened our eyes to hope and maybe trust that what we were dreaming about is not a reality? Maybe we opened our eyes to a sigh of relief that that isn't real. Or maybe we opened our eyes to something we didn't expect. We know that many people opened their eyes this morning to damage from storms that have come through, and we're praying for those people. Maybe you opened your eyes this morning hoping that all of this COVID-19 was not real. It was just a bad dream, and that we're going to be able to see one another again and fellowship one with another. Opening our eyes can be a blessing and it can be a curse. And that reminded me, as I was thinking of a meditation thought today, it reminded me of Luke chapter 16. Luke chapter 16, I'm going to begin reading verses 19 through the end of the chapter. Luke 16, verses 19 and following says, "There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell, or Hades, he lift up his eyes, being in torments, and seeing Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water, and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. And beside all this, between us and you there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from thence. Then he said, I pray thee, therefore, Father, that thou wouldest send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. And Abraham saith unto him, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. And he said, Nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. And he said unto him, If they will hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead. We've heard this account from Jesus many times, and often we think about this account as an importance of being prepared for our death, and we focus somewhat on that rich man. That rich man who had everything that he wanted in this life, but when he opened or lifted up his eyes in torment on the other side of death, he found something he never expected for himself. An end that he never would have wished on his worst enemy. An end that it causes us to reflect. One day we'll open our eyes in eternity as well. Is it going to be in torment, as was with the rich man? Or maybe we need to spend a little more time thinking about Lazarus. Lazarus had a lot of hardships in this physical life, difficulties that we wouldn't wish on our worst enemies as well. But in the end, he was comforted. When he lifted up his eyes, can you imagine what it was like for Lazarus to open his eyes in paradise? Can you imagine the joy that it must have brought to him to know that he was going to be comforted, that he was going to be at peace for all eternity? The opposite, of course, is true with that rich man, but maybe in a time like this, as we're looking for things to consider, on which to meditate, maybe we need to stop and consider opening our eyes one day in eternity. And opening our eyes one day, though we've dealt with hardships and difficulties in this life, we've lived our lives faithful to the Lord, and we can rest in Abraham's bosom. We can be with God. Maybe that's something that we should meditate on. Maybe that's something we should focus our attention toward as we're going through these difficult times of quarantine and wishing we could be with one another. Maybe we need to stop and consider that all the pleasures of this life will only come to naught. A life lived for the Lord is a life worth living. A death died, even death itself, as terrible as it is, a death died in the Lord is something to be praised. The Scriptures teach us that blessed are they that die in the Lord, that they rest from their labors and the works do follow them. And we have an example of that through Jesus' words with Lazarus. One day we're going to open our eyes, and it's going to be eternity. Will we be listening to Moses and the prophets? Will we be listening to the word of Christ? Will we be listening to the New Testament? Will we be following that New Testament and be able to rest in that paradise that he's prepared for us? Or will we open our eyes in torment? The choice is ours now, but one day it'll be too late. Maybe we need to be thinking a little bit more about what truly matters. Maybe that's a blessing through all of this difficulty that we're facing today, as it's causing us to step back from the mundane and the everyday life that we've been living and trying to get ahead and trying to get a little bit more here in this world, living a little bit more for this life. Maybe it's time that we start reflecting on what truly matters, that one day we will open our eyes in eternity. Something on which to meditate this Monday. May God bless you till we meet again.